the faint smell of espresso. A man at the window table stirs his coffee and watches a building across the street. He has been watching it for 9 days. He knows the man inside that building by name. He knows the man's wife's maiden name. He knows which restaurant the man eats lunch at every Thursday, what route he walks to the metro, and the exact model of car his driver uses on Tuesdays versus Thursdays. He also knows something else, something that changes every assumption you have about what this job actually is. He is not a soldier. He has no authority to arrest anyone. He carries no badge, no warrant, no legal mandate from any court on earth. He carries a Canadian passport belonging to a telecommunications engineer named David Sullivan, a man who does not exist, backed by 3 years of fabricated emails, LinkedIn connections, and family photographs featuring people he has never met. His real name has not been spoken aloud in 11 days. And when a single encrypted word arrives on a device disguised as an ordinary mobile phone, his job is to make sure the man across the street never returns home. This is your life inside the Mossad. And here's the question that nobody asks. What does it actually do to a person? Not the spy novel version, not the film version, but the real, psychological, irreversible version, to spend 30 years becoming someone else. The answer will reframe everything you think you know about what it means to serve a country. Level 1. The find. You did not apply. There is no form, no job listing, no recruiter at a government career fair. The Mossad, whose full name translates from the Hebrew as the Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations, found you. Finding you is a job someone does full-time. You were 23, finishing mandatory military service in an IDF intelligence unit. Your commanding officer submitted your name to a database you did not know existed. Somewhere inside a building in the Glilot district, officially listed as a research institute, an analyst reviewed your military file, your psychological evaluations, your language aptitude scores, your family, history going back 3 generations, and a behavioral profile. Assembled through interviews with people who know you personally, who were never told why they were being asked questions about your temperament and your habits and the way you handle pressure. 6 weeks after your discharge, a woman called. She said she represented a government agency she could not name. She asked if you would be willing to attend a meeting at a location she would provide on the morning of the appointment. No address in advance. No time to prepare. You went. Because curiosity is the first quality they select for. The woman at the caf was in her 50s. No jewelry. No briefcase. She ordered coffee and spoke to you for 2 hours about your childhood, your relationships, your capacity for loneliness, your fears. She never said the word intelligence. She never said the word Mossad. Then she asked, have you ever lied convincingly to someone you loved? You said yes, because it was true, and because something in her expression told you that lying to her would be the last mistake you made in this process. She thanked you and left. You did not hear anything for 4 months. Then a plain envelope arrived. No logo, no return address. Report to this address on this date. Bring nothing. But here is what nobody tells you about this moment. You are not being recruited into a workforce of thousands of elite assassins. The entire Mossad employs roughly 7,000 people, analysts, technicians, logisticians, computer engineers. The majority of them live entirely ordinary domestic Israeli lives. They commute to a secured office north of Tel Aviv, write reports, attend meetings, go home to their families for dinner. The part you are about to enter is something else entirely. At any given moment, the number of active Katsas, field case officers operating abroad under deep cover, is estimated at somewhere between 30 and 40 worldwide. For the world's most feared intelligence service, that is a shockingly small number. It means each one carries the weight of an entire country's clandestine network. You are about to become one of them, and the attrition rate will strip away almost everyone you train beside. Level 2, the Cadet. The training academy is called the Midrasha. Its location is classified. There are 14 people in your class. By graduation, 6 will remain. The program lasts 2 to 3 years, longer than almost any intelligence training course in the Western world. It is not a physical endurance program. You are not being turned into a soldier. You are being turned into something more difficult. A person who can walk through the world as someone else, indefinitely, without cracking. The vocabulary is the first thing they teach you. Not a foreign language, a professional one. The Sayanim are Jewish volunteers living abroad who provide logistical support to operations, without knowing the full picture. A Sayan might be an estate agent who provides a safe house, a car rental manager who supplies an untraceable vehicle, a bank officer who unlocks funds outside normal hours. There are thousands of them. Estimates suggest 4,000 in London alone, 16,000 in the United States. A Cyan physician will treat a bullet wound without filing a police report and without asking a single question. This invisible global network is how an intelligence service from a country smaller than New Jersey projects operational reach across every continent on Earth. The other thing you learn is human anatomy, not of the body, but of motivation. Every person you will ever recruit is driven by one of 5 forces: greed, vanity, resentment, loneliness, or fear. Your job is not to make someone spy for Israel. Your job is to identify which of these forces controls them and become the answer to it. You study human weakness with the clinical precision of a surgeon studying anatomy, and then they simulate the thing you dread most. The resistance to interrogation module involves simulated capture by a hostile intelligence service. Trainees are hooded, subjected to sleep deprivation, temperature extremes, and aggressive questioning designed to break the cover story you have spent months building. Some cadets crack within hours. The instructors are not testing your tolerance for pain. They are testing your ability to maintain a coherent lie under conditions designed to make coherence impossible. Because pain heals. A broken cover identity kills everyone connected to the operation. You endure. You graduate. There is no ceremony. A senior officer you have never met shakes your hand in a corridor and says 2 words: "Welcome home." Level 3, the Junior Katsa. Your first posting is a friendly European capital. You live there under a full cover identity. You are employed by a front company that functions as a real business. You file taxes in your cover name. You have business cards. Your mission is to recruit sources with access to information Israel cannot obtain through signals intelligence or satellite imagery. Human intelligence. The kind that requires a person sitting inside an enemy's decision-making apparatus, reading documents they are not supposed to read, and passing the contents to you through channels designed to be invisible. Your first target is a mid-level diplomat from a country that publicly condemns Israel while privately conducting back-channel negotiations. He has a weakness: compulsive gambling. He owes money to people who charge interest rates that European banking regulations do not contemplate. You become his friend over 3 months of careful contact. You loan him money. You introduce him to a private card game hosted by a Cyan in a rented apartment, where the stakes are high and the debts accumulate quickly. Within 4 months, he owes you the equivalent of 3 years of his salary. You do not threaten him. The debt is the threat. The conversation is gentle. You tell him you understand his situation. You tell him you can make the debt disappear. All he has to do is share some documents. Nothing sensitive, just background material. He knows this is not true. You know he knows. He agrees, because you have made yourself the only exit from ruin. You assign him a code name. You establish a communication protocol. The first intelligence report reaches Tel Aviv 12 hours later. The desk officer sends a single-word response: continue. Level 4, the Senior Katsa. 7 years in, 4 countries, 11 agents recruited. And then comes the call that changes the shape of your career. The Dubai operation of January 2010 is the most forensically documented Mossad mission in history, not because it failed, but because it succeeded so completely that the city's CTV infrastructure captured a masterclass in operational tradecraft on camera, frame by frame, for investigators to reconstruct. The target was Mahmoud al-Mabhou, a Hamas arms dealer who facilitated the purchase of weapons components for attacks against Israeli civilians. An estimated 11 to 18-person team entered the United Arab Emirates using passports cloned from citizens of the UK, Ireland, France, and Germany. Every transaction, hotels, transport, food, was handled in cash. The team that shadowed al-Mabhou through the Dubai airport wore complete tennis outfits, carrying rackets. This was not incidental. It was a deliberate exploitation of human cognitive bias. Security personnel look for nervous people in tactical gear. They do not look at wealthy tourists who seem slightly confused about which direction their court is in. 2 operatives rode the elevator with al-Mabhou, appearing so convincingly disoriented that the hotel employee accompanying him glanced back at them and looked away. They were in room 237, directly across the hall from room 230, by the time al-Mabhou left for his afternoon meetings. One operative disappeared into a hotel restroom as a bald man in a business suit. He emerged wearing a thick black hairpiece and glasses, and entirely different clothing. Another arrived wearing a blonde wig and departed hours later with dark hair. dressed as a member of hotel staff. Al-Mabo returned to his room at 8:30 p.m. He was sedated, asphyxiated, and the scene was staged to resemble natural death. The team extracted across 3 countries within 6 hours of the operation. By the time Dubai police established a crime scene, the hit squad was boarding commercial flights under names that would never be used again. But here is the part that none of the headlines emphasized. The operation burned every operative who participated in it, forever. Their faces, all of them, were broadcast globally via Interpol Red Notice. Their cover identities, the product of years of construction, destroyed in a single news cycle. They can never again cross an international border without triggering an alert. The cost of a perfect operation was every identity each of them had built. Level 5. The honey trap. Not every story ends with operational precision. The most haunting figure in the history of Mossad intelligence, a man often called the greatest spy of the 20th century, is Ashraf Marwan. He was the billionaire son-in-law of Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser, and he was, by most accounts, working for Israel, providing intelligence that shaped the outcome of the 1973 Yom Kippur War. On June 27, 2007, Marwan fell from the balcony of his 5th-floor flat in London, landing in a private rose garden below. Whether he jumped or was pushed has never been resolved. The intelligence services of multiple countries have theories. None of them have evidence. He landed in the roses, and the question of whether he was an asset, a double agent, or something in between that both definitions fail to capture, died with him. And then, there is the woman. In 1986, a nuclear technician named Mordecai Vanunu worked at Israel's Dimona facility, the installation at the center of Israel's undeclared nuclear program. He leaked photographs of the facility to the British press, confirming for the first time what governments had long suspected: Israel possessed nuclear weapons. Israel could not abduct him on British soil without triggering a diplomatic crisis with the UK that would destabilize vital strategic relationships. So they sent a woman. Her operational name was Cindy. Her real name was Cheryl Bentov, an American-born officer who had served in the IF. She approached Vanunu on a London street. She presented herself as an apolitical American tourist. She initiated a conversation. And over several days, she became the thing Vanunu was most desperate for in his paranoid, isolated life in a foreign city, a genuine human connection. When she suggested a romantic weekend in Rome, he agreed immediately. The apartment they entered was already occupied. Waiting Mossad agents drugged Vanunu, chained him to a bed, and smuggled him out of Italy by boat. He was tried in Israel and spent 18 years in prison. More than a decade of that was in solitary confinement. Years later, in a television interview, Vanunu was asked about the woman who had ensnared him. He thought about it, and then he said something that encapsulates the entire operational philosophy of the Mossad's approach to human vulnerability. Any man would have fallen, he said to the interviewer, including you. He was right. That is the point. Level 6. The director. The people who reach the top of this organization, the department chiefs, the deputy directors, the director himself, carry a particular kind of weight that has no civilian equivalent. The director of the Mossad, the Rosh HaMossad, is appointed directly by the Prime Minister. His name is made public, which makes him one of the only individuals in the entire organization whose identity the state acknowledges. He attends weekly intelligence briefings in Jerusalem alongside the heads of Shin Bet and Amman. He meets with the directors of the CIA, MI6, and other Western services. He shares intelligence selectively, enough to sustain the partnerships Israel depends on, never enough to reveal the full depth of Israel's capabilities. Every handshake is calculated. Every piece of intelligence shared has already been evaluated for what it inadvertently reveals. He sleeps 4 hours on the best nights. His security detail accompanies him everywhere. He cannot walk through a market in Tel Aviv without armed personnel scanning every face within a defined perimeter. He is simultaneously the most protected person in Israel who is not the prime minister, and one of the most targeted individuals in the country. He carries the successes that the Israeli public will never learn about, and the failures that carry his name into history. 3 of his former officers' agents, in the earlier years of his career, before the desk, were discovered. 1 was imprisoned for 18 years. 1 was executed. 1 disappeared into a detention system so opaque that no international organization has confirmed whether he is alive or dead. He carried their code names in a part of his mind that does not shut down when he wants it to. Level 7. The aftermath. Viktor Ostrovsky served as a Katsa. He was fired after 14 months for insubordination and relocated to Canada, where he wrote a memoir that the Israeli government went to court to suppress, in the United States, in Canada, in every jurisdiction they had standing. The suppression attempts made the book a bestseller. In the book, Ostrovsky said something about the culture inside the Mossad that has stayed with intelligence scholars ever since. He described an institutional arrogance built from isolation, from the absence of oversight, from decades of operating above the law of every nation on earth except Israel's. He said the worst curse one Katsa could throw at another was the simple wish, "May I read about you," in the paper. Public exposure, the end of the invisible life. That was the thing they feared most. Ostrovsky eventually settled in Scottsdale, Arizona, where he opened a fine art gallery. He spent his post-Mossad years painting a series he called Metaphors of Espionage. The canvases feature faceless figures moving through shadowy, surreal landscapes, hidden beneath wide hats, heavy gloves, dark umbrellas, no faces, moving through rain. It is the most honest self-portrait a former spy has ever produced. Right now, somewhere in Israel, a 23-year-old is sitting in a cafe in Tel Aviv. A woman in her 50s approaches the table. She orders coffee. She begins asking quiet questions about childhood, about loneliness, about whether the young person across from her has ever lied convincingly to someone they loved. The conversation will last 2 hours. Then the woman will leave, without identifying herself. 4 months later, a plain envelope will arrive, and that person will stand in their apartment holding the letter, feeling the gravitational pull of something vast and invisible, not fully understanding yet that the thing pulling them is irreversible, that the life they are about to enter will consume every identity they have ever built and replace each one with identities constructed for a country. They do not know about the years spent under assumed names in cities where their real name goes unspoken for weeks, the agents recruited and lost, the operations that ended lives in hotel rooms, the marriages sustained only by extraordinary silence, the retirement, if it comes, spent painting faceless figures walking through rain, because that is the only way left to say what cannot be said. They just know they want to matter. That is enough to begin. It was never enough to prepare them for what follows. But here is the thing about the Mossad, the thing that every former officer and every intelligence historian eventually arrives at, the thing that reframes every mission and every cover identity and every Katsa, sitting alone in a European apartment watching a building across. The street, the most powerful intelligence agency in the world, was built, from the beginning, on a single sentence. 3 words in Hebrew that define the entire project, not just the operations, not just the tradecraft, but the reason a country smaller than New Jersey convinced itself to become the most feared intelligence service on earth. Never again. Never again will this people be defenseless. Never again will their survival depend on the goodwill of foreign nations. The weight of that sentence is what you carry all the way down, through the Midrasha and the European postings and the code names you can never forget, and the retirement you spend painting ghosts. You are not carrying a job description. You are carrying a promise that a generation made to the ones who came before them. And somewhere in Tel Aviv, it is beginning again.